Welcome to Beyond Beats. I am Metic, DYVN's here, and we are your hosts. Welcome to episode 6.
Alright, so here we are in episode number 6 of Beyond Beats, and we're just the two of us. What happened?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, in episode 5, we were talking about having a guest that's coming along to talk about social media strategies and all that stuff.
But you know how things are sometimes, it just fell through. So now it's just the two of us, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we just thought it'll be a quick little episode where we talk about a couple of topical things that we're seeing in the community. And I guess we could start off with Spotify Wrapped.
The obvious one.
That time of the year. And I think this is the time of the year where there's a lot of, how do you say it, polarizing thoughts within the community of how we feel about this whole campaign, which is essentially what this all is. Spotify Wrapped, make no mistake about it, is a campaign run by Spotify, and it's a very good marketing campaign that reminds people of where they listen to their music, but at the same time it's also a very good piece of content that showcases a lot of people's listening habits and using,
which is essentially who they are in a way,
Yeah, exactly. And then just and they actually leverage this data, because ultimately the value of Spotify, Apple Music, they get so much data, and then they are able to present it in a way that's very easily digestible,
right,
for listener and artists, and it's brilliant. But at the same time, the other side of that coin is, especially for the artist's side, it leads to some people. I mean, I think it's not controversial to say, some people think it kind of reduces music into something that it's just about the numbers, which.
Yeah.
Music is way more than about that, and so every time this time of the year comes around, there's this kind of push and pull. There's this debate within the community, like, what are the reasons? Like, should we even be posting it anymore? Sometimes do we feel obligated to post it?
Right.
Because
if you don't post it, it'll just you'll look bad or something, right?
Yeah, I mean.
It's not what I'm thinking, but it's just one way to look at it.
Yeah, and I think it's a very, it's just one of those things where it attracts a lot of debate. And I mean, personally, I posted it just because I think I started talking about this in the last episode, which is my kind of approach to social media, which you know very well, because ever since Instagram started throttling organic reach for things that aren't reels, things that aren't like super viral and hooky, and at the beginning, firsthand that it really bothered me, and bothered me to the point where I started like really questioning myself and the art and the content that I make. But after a while,
which once again runs back to numbers, right? Which once again is one of those
exactly.
things where you look at what you did
views,
and you judge
likes.
It yourself by numbers, kind of even putting yourself value to those numbers, attaching it to those numbers.
Exactly. So it kind of ties in together. Spotify Wrapped, in essence, it's really not that different from the toxicity of social media of sometimes, when you get so attached to the numbers. But I guess my point was, after that initial throttling of feeling bad about having no reach or whatever, it kind of I don't know if this was is a good thing or not, but like it really desensitized me to the content, to the performance of the things that I post, to the point where, you know, when I post things now, like I really, if it gets like 10 likes or less or whatever, you know, I almost expect it, and hence I don't really, you know, I've been, it's like that thing like where you've just been hurt so many times you kind of expect it and then it doesn't even bother you anymore. It's kind of like you expect the least, so you're never disappointed.
Right.
And I kind of really have embodied that a little bit. Sometimes it still bothers you when you like think you made something like really cool, and then I really hope this does, like sometimes of course it still bothers you, but like I'm just so desensitized to the performance now, like, you know, in terms of that, maybe you can call me dead inside in terms of like expecting performance in social media.
Put some comments down there below to cheer Metic up. Can we get more than 10 comments?
But you know,
no, I get you, I totally get you. And my perspective on that is I've always kind of like personally, and I'm, maybe call me a bad businessman or something, but I personally look at when I see, like, for example, like comments or even likes, you know, which is kind of like one step before comments. Don't look at my comments, man. I've got like 2 of them in the whole. I think the Spotify rap post actually got a couple of comments, so that was kind of cool to see, you know. But I've always looked at it in a way that I'm rather excited for the people who like my posts. If it's my friends, for example, and I can see my friends actually liked what I did, or even if it's some other cool artists where I'm just like, hey, that's someone I respect, you know. So for what they do, not, you know, the numbers that they have or something, which oftentimes it goes hand in hand, because, you know, good music oftentimes also gets certain recognition, but sometimes it doesn't. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, for me, it's quality over quantity, and so
I mean, I think it's also at the same time there's something that's very specific to our genre, which is like instrumental beats, where it's just so playlist driven,
right?
And you know, so a lot of the numbers don't even tell the story within this genre, because like if you were in like, I don't know, indie rock or something, and then you get like 20 million streams a year, and that's massive.
That's
you know?
I always say,
you know,
our numbers are divided by 10 or by 100, and then you're where other people are, you know. My wife is an indie rock singer or indie singer, and you know, she always, when I started like taking off number wise, she kind of like got dragged down by that, because she's like, why am I even, you know? And I'm like, dude, don't know. But I just want to look up one thing. I just want to look up what I personally posted, and that was the part that I actually, I gotta say though, speaking of a genius marketing campaign, the sheer number of the listening time, and that's just insane to me. People have listened to my music 11,404 days. First of all, 404, and that's 31 years of straight
up. It's insane.
And that's like, for me, that was the first time when I grasped the immensity of what, you know.
It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Or try to grasp, you know.
Like it, and I think, it's very specific to this genre, where the numbers don't fully tell the whole story, and
that's what I was trying to drive at, though. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just stuck on the slide before. But my music, and that's again no like brag or something. It's just what it says here. Has been added to 52,000 playlists this year. And that's just what blows me away, because that's a number that I can actually get something out of, even if it were just like 52 playlists. 52,000 is, once again, it's just so immense, I can't even grasp that, right? But just actually, first of all, super amazing that we are on those big playlists, super amazing that we do get this for a living. I feel like we're saying this in every episode, but it's just a fact. I'm just beyond grateful for that. So let's keep that going. But for me, the fact that like people organically, like actual users, added our music to their playlist, that's really cool. That's also really cool, So
I think at a certain point, that's where like the numbers, like ultimately it's kind of like the numbers do kind of like the bigger playlist that you added into, the more people get to listen to it, and then it trickles down, the more users actually listen to it, add it to their own playlists. And ultimately what I wanted to, I guess in this genre, like people, it's no secret that this genre, the numbers are hyperinflated compared to other genres. And I think it's a lot of people aren't really trying to say that. I mean, there are some people who look at these numbers, then they're like, oh wow, thank you to like all my fans, millions of fans and stuff like that. But like I think at the same time, like people are, it's kind of like a different way to approach music, I guess. And in 2022 there's just so many different ways, and this is just like using the power of playlists to reach out to different potential listeners on specific platforms. Is this a good way to build a fan base? It's definitely not, because in terms of conversion, there's very few of those playlist listens actually convert into actual fandom, right?
Totally.
But at the same time, it does, whenever you get added to like lo-fi beats or whatever, your music gets played hundreds of thousands of times, and then invariably you will see your people following you more on Spotify, following you more on other platforms, and it's definitely not a great way to build a fan base, but it is a way. And I think to bring it back to the numbers, I think in some ways, I was talking to Lamb Chop about this the other day as well, like in some ways, beyond a certain number, beyond a certain threshold, these numbers almost, they don't really mean much anymore. Like it's like, okay, I opened Spotify for artists, I used to think like, wow, there's like 3 people listening to my music right now. Holy crap, that's 3 actual people
sitting in
on
front
this
of their,
same app that I'm opening right now. Like, listen, that I always thought that was like, wow, that's insane. That's so cool that they did that. And then I started, and then you get added to certain editorials and blah blah blah, and then you open your app, it's like, fuck, I got 100 people listening to it right now.
Right.
And you're like, what is this? Is insane. Like, this doesn't even mean anything to me right now. Like, I can't even, like, as
like I said, 31 years of listening. I can't grasp.
I can't understand it.
Yeah, my brain
it
can
just doesn't
compile that into sensible information.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And then when you get taken off of those playlists, and then it's like 20 people, 15
Deflation.
people, 10 people, and then you're like, and then you start feeling bad. You're like, why am I allowing myself to feel these things? Like, it doesn't, before Spotify for artists, I would never even be exposed to these types of feelings, these types of emotions, right? But because of this, I'm like, oh wow, I don't, why do I feel sad? Like
Right,
if
right.
if there's
Because
only like 8 people listening to my music right now, like why do I feel down? Like these feelings, these emotions should never even exist in the first place,
right.
right? But yeah, anyway, I think
And there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with, you know, the playlist game or anything. I just want to stress on that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing.
no,
I think it's just how we handle things is something that we should probably put
yeah,
some time and effort into, because I obviously know exactly what you're talking about, and I think those listening who are in the same game as we are, they will know what it feels like. And
yeah,
but then again, like I said, like my wife, for example, when she has like she got it added to a very small editorial the other day, and
congrats.
yeah.
That was like new music, fresh finds, right?
It was fresh finds for the German
Yeah.
market, and she, yeah, we both were super excited because that was like a playlist where, is it like a 20,000 follower playlist, and she got almost over the nasty 1,000 threshold with her song, and
that's
then
another
it
thing,
got taken
yeah.
out again because they updated their playlist to a best of 2022 version of that playlist.
Yeah.
And so she's only been in there for like a week or something. But it almost felt to me seeing that, and I produced that song, so I was also like double proud of the whole thing. But I was, of course, mostly proud for, you know, and happy for her. But like seeing that kind of gave me back a feeling of sort of organicness, because I was like, once again, I just want to like stress, can't stress that enough. Like I'm incredibly grateful for those numbers allowing me to do what I do for a living, being able to like produce music for my wife like that, because I don't have a day job to go to, so I can just, you know, do anything with my time other than making hip hop beats, lo-fi beats. But yeah, for me it was just it was kind of like it felt almost like going back on stage with my first band and just jamming, you know, kind of for music's sake, because we'll make it one day, sort of, you know.
Yeah, and you know, ultimately it's a husband wife. It's a like, as in Misa is a husband, like it's just you guys, right?
Right.
It's just,
yeah.
and
Our
the fact
label,
that
yeah, it's also
your label is just you guys, and you produce the song, and then, you know, it's not like you have some massive playlist backing, that you have a massive playlist ecosystem. Like you only have you two and your production, her singing and everything, like
her art,
and you guys are able to.
She does all the artworks for me and for
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah, and the artwork and everything. But you're able to, you know, get the eyeballs of Spotify editors to be placed on fresh finds. Like that's, you know, that's really cool.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
The fact that this independent operation between you two is able to, you know, catch the eyes of this editor to be put on, you know, to feature you guys on this.
And that's the exact same way I choose to look at all of our accomplishments as artists, you know, like, but like, you know, I'm speaking about myself and everyone in the community. Like, there's a reason, there's still some reason why we're where we're at, right? So we did make some decisions, right, and we did make some good music, you know, and so I think there's
totally.
I just want to like
that's the
like
prerequisite.
kind of de-shame the whole Spotify rap thing a little bit as well, because I don't think there's you know, I just feel like it's important to look at it for what it is, and also for what it's not, maybe. And like you said, it's maybe not the best way for what we do to build a fan base. There's other ways to do that, and there's like, you know, but you got to approach it from a different way, and just be super aware of what those numbers actually mean. Be happy, proud, all of those things for what it is. Don't be sad about it, and yeah, kind of that wraps what I wanted to say about it.
And I totally agree. I mean, just it's Spotify, like it or not, has kind of empowered a lot of people in this community to, you know, to pursue what they want. I mean, the fact that Spotify pays out, like, you can argue about the rates, the low rates, all you want, but the fact that is, you know, it's a very direct way for people to get paid by this platform, and, you know, it's in 2022 that's one of the things to be grateful about, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess it could be a time. I think we wrapped that up pretty well. Yeah, I guess, and the other thing that we've been seeing quite a bit in this community is the AI art that's trending.
Yeah. I was literally the other day texting to a fellow producer, that art looks sick, and he got back to me like, yeah, that's AI, dude. And I'm like, what? I literally fell for it, sort of, whatever that means. But
yeah, I guess for people who don't really know what it is or anything, but AI art has been kind of a thing. Or at least I started learning about it earlier this year.
Yeah,
when
same.
This AI art engine called Dolly started accepting like invitations or whatever. It's like an open beta or something, and so that became a thing. And then how the process goes is
it called Dolly? Is it called something similar to Dolly? I think it's. I always keep forgetting the name.
It's like DALL and then -E. So I actually have no idea.
Oh, is it?
What people say. Well, okay. I mean, there's like three big engines. So Dolly's one of them. Midjourney is another one that a lot of people use. And I forget the name of the third one at the moment. But generally the process for all these things are pretty similar in the sense that you provide these engines with a prompt, and picture of a forest in daytime, blah, blah, blah. Like you just give them like a prompt, and you try to be as descriptive as possible, and then the AI will give you spit out a resulting image, and then you can kind of refine it, upscale it, and do different things to it to make it more like what you want. And yeah, and then when Dolly first came out, I will be the first to admit, like I was like, it looks kind of like it's fun, but it doesn't look like amazing.
Yeah,
it didn't wow me.
Yeah. Kind of cheap almost.
A little bit, yeah. And then people started using Midjourney, which is a different engine, and which personally I've seen a little better results on. Maybe I need to look more into this, but when people started posting their Midjourney like AI generations, I was like, oh wow, like it looks really legit.
Right.
And I think now you get into, there's this whole craft almost as to how can you generate the best art using the technology and the process that's available. So people, when I'm looking at, so for example with Midjourney, when you do your prompts, you do it when you're on the free tier, you do it in a Discord channel where you can see other people's generations, and you can see other people's prompts and stuff, and then you can kind of scroll through those images, and you're like, oh wow, some of these are really good, and then you can see the prompts that made them, and they're like a block of text, wall of text, super
new way
descriptive.
Of coding, sort of, almost.
Dude, yeah, and they're not even like coherent sentences, right? They're like ultra photorealistic, shot with RE camera, shot with Sony camera.
Oh damn!
Like
okay,
depth of field. Like I mean, they're just feeding in keywords, right? At this point, and seeing what kind of sticks.
Right.
But there's almost like this whole study of like how can you feed this AI the term that it wants to feed out the result that you're after. And there's people like when I go look in that Discord channel, I'm like, wow, people are getting really good at this, really good at this. And yeah, I think you were talking about seeing people post in the past couple days, like these crazy psychedelic and technicolored portraits of themselves, right?
Right. Yeah. I was at Eloquent's Instagram this
Yeah.
morning, or like I saw him in my feed this morning, and yeah.
I don't know if that's. I don't think he. Yeah, I saw that too, and I don't think he posted like what he used to make it. But I think I saw someone else post self-portrait of themselves. It's another one of these like AI tools. And
Oh,
I think
someone
it's
asked in the comments actually, which app is this? Literally, my feed is full of these AI art posts, and he goes at
Lensa?
Stylist Joe.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, yeah, that's the name of the Lensa. Yeah.
Lensa, right? Yeah, I saw the Lensa. Yeah, so Lensa is like an app. It's essentially Photoshop. I literally just looked into this like 10
Okay.
minutes before we started. Lensa
Right.
is like it's essentially a image editing app that's AI that powered, I guess. You can like feed it actual images, real images
Okay.
of
Yeah.
yourself, other people, whatever, and there's like sliders you can do after the fact that makes it very psychedelic, or like different designs that are completely not how should I say it? That it's just like AI enhance rather
Right.
than AI fully AI generated. That's what I'm
Generated.
trying to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. I'm just so blown away, and yeah, I don't know how you feel about this trend that we're seeing, because just for me as an observer, in the span of 5-6 months of me learning about this AI art, like the progress I was able to see within these 5-6 months
It's insane.
is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel. Yeah, especially.
I'm with those things. I'm always pretty reserved because I think it's insane. That's what I can definitely say.
Crazy.
In other news, I would say I don't want to say it's freaky or scary or something, but definitely makes you wonder where things are going. But I think these kinds of things tend to have their natural way of going. I think humans do crave human
Yep.
creations, or just humans in general, so I feel like it's definitely a trend, and there's a good reason why it's a trend. It's fascinating for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Though, and I think for some things, for some it's kind of like when going for stock photography versus I know the photographer who shot this, and I took it for this specific reason. I wanted to have him shoot the photos for this project. There's very clear reasons why you would go for this or that, and so I feel like there's certainly gonna be a future for this, and there's gonna be a market for this, and there's certain niches that are gonna adapt. Just and you won't be able to tell the difference, obviously. So, but there's also this need for example, when a company needs a certain picture, they're not gonna. I mean, maybe at some point when you say there's like this type of coding to get the exact same exact picture right, and it might go faster than actually hiring someone to do what they want to get done.
Right.
But then again, many companies are built on sort of legacy values or traditional, in the sense of, and so for that to adapt, of course it'll adapt into certain markets. Do I think that art as such is endangered by this? No, because I'd still think there's a certain, and call me naive, maybe I am, but I still feel like if you really want to make a connection to another person, there's always going to be a factor, unless you don't know, right? unless it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with lo-fi hip-hop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got a question about that too, but I wanted to speak on that point you mentioned earlier about companies like hiring designers and and stuff like that. While I think, you know, people will still value the human element behind, you know, visual art in general, what I'm kind of seeing from all this is the emergence of a role that's not a designer per se, but rather a role where the person is able to interact with different AIs very effectively. So, for example, like, you know, one person who's really good with Mid-Journey prompts, and if you give him a concept, he can generate what you want with the least amount of prompts. Like that's what I'm observing. That's becoming a skill,
right? Which
is insane. Like, because all you're literally doing is just finding different keywords that this AI favors, right? But so long story short, that's kind of what I'm seeing is the emergence of a role where the skill set is more and more valued.
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask you about lo-fi hip hop was, how do you think this will affect musicians? Because it's coming. Like whatever we're seeing about, you know, people going up in arms about, oh, like they're just replacing us, blah blah blah, and music is the next.
Yeah, for sure.
It's happening. It'll probably happen in a couple months.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know what you feel about AI music.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. For those that didn't see it, for the listeners, DYVN just put his shirt over his head and kind of just went into the fetal position, expressing his fears. And good place to plug that we do have a video channel on YouTube where you can see all this in video form.
Yes, we keep forgetting to mention it, but
yeah. But yeah, how do you feel about AI music?
All of this year is I need that job, you know.
Yeah. No, but you're pointing to your amps, your analog
to my
gear,
studio, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but seriously, I feel like it's a similar thing, and I know that we're in a market. We've just discussed that in depth in the first part of the episode. That we're in a market where our music is sort of backgroundy, and to a lot of people's usage. So, I guess it kind of look at certain playlists. I think when you go to certain playlists, and just to mention a few, like the first one that comes to mind is like beat instrumentals on Apple Music, for example. It's really, you can tell that there's a sense of curation going on as well, like even in the way that some of the songs flow into each other.
Right.
Then there's also other playlists. I can't think, since I personally use Apple Music, I can't think of any on Spotify. But when you even look at some playlists are more flooded, for example, with aliases, which I'm also guilty of, but having one. But like when you look at how in some playlists it's still kind of highlighted, I guess, in a way, who made the music. Like I would say Jazz Vibes is a good example of that, like being I think so. I don't hold me accountable for my words, but
got you.
Kind of seeing its own role as one of those playlists that are like it says like the original chill playlist or something, I think, in the description. So they kind of see themselves as like really the curator of a certain, even like movement, I want to say,
right?
You know, more than just these are some chill beats that will make you feel less bored at home. So,
yeah, I see what you're saying. There's
a certain element of culture to it, I would say.
Yep.
And I see that both on Jazz Vibes and on like its own self-understanding, and on beat instrumentals. And certainly also on other playlists. These are just examples. So, and I feel like for those playlists, it'll always matter Like
Yep.
I even see like labels that do focus on this like beat culture more, being more featured in those playlists. You know, there's certainly different reasons for that, but
Yeah.
you know, one of them is just a good match as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think
and other playlists
drive-
probably will be fully replaced by
exactly.
because our genre is obviously what we do. Then there's ambient music, you know, those kinds of things, super easy to generate. But the more, I think, the more intricate you get, the more live instrumentation you add, the more like, you know, like guitar tone, you know.
Yeah.
How many times did I say you know in the segment?
No, I do that
or like,
too. It's all good.
Or like jazz elements or something. Things where I feel like the emotion is the more emotional, but not in the sense of play a minor chord and call it emotional, but expression that comes with the tone. I think that's something, and once again, call me naive, but I guess that's something you can't replace that easily. So
I guess
that's my statement.
Yeah, I think I like that point you were saying about you know, curators still probably will prefer the human connection, and I guess the final thing I have to say about that is I can only hope how AI music will affect us is it won't really replace what we do, because what we do is still very, you know, there's a solid human connection in what we do, but it's basically unavoidable and undeniable that there will be an emergence of a new genre, a new
and that can be interesting again.
a new playlist, a new ecosystem of AI generated music.
Clip that when the time comes, everyone.
And it'll capture our ears, and hopefully it won't be replacing what we do. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to kind of cap off this topic. I think with AI music looming in the corner, I guess, you know, another trend that we've been noticing is how music making has been getting easier and easier with more and more advanced tools at our disposal. And and I guess
I've got some good news for you, I guess.
Yeah.
The lovely people at Native Instruments actually, for those who don't know, I'm a huge fan of their products, of their you know, their hardware, their software. And at some point I got to work with them really closely, to the point where they sent me stuff for free, hardware and software, in some cases, which is super cool. They just sent me their products, their software mostly, and if there's anything I like, I get to talk about it. And in this case, actually something really cool emerged. In case we're all going to lose our jobs against AI, they are starting today, the day that this episode goes live. They're making available a free plugin, contact plugin, for a limited time until January something. It's called Haifa. Just tested it out. It's pretty dope. It's like sound textures mostly. And yeah, so actually that's just one of the like little PSA for those who care for free stuff and for a decent soundscape plugin.
Soundscapes, yeah, texture. I think, yeah, it would be cool to mess around with it. I think usually when I think of textures and all that stuff, I think of Spitfire. It's really cool to see Native Instruments kind of well, I guess, you know, Native Instruments is with Contact, basically, you know, you have the world at your disposal. Yeah.
And like again, like I said, it's not sponsored or anything. It's just if there's anything I like, I'll talk about it, and I just did. So.
But yeah, other than that, I think it's.
We got a playlist. once again, like every week, right. I feel like this was a very Spotify-centric playlist episode. Once again, like every week, we've got a little playlist for you guys. It is a holiday-themed one this year, and it features some of our favorite bunch of holiday tunes. I think it's just two. It just ended up being two tunes on my side. It's from the Peanuts. What is it called actually? The song is called "Skating."
Nutcracker. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's like from the Peanuts like soundtrack from the Vince Guaraldi trio. The song is called "Skating." Absolute classic. I love it to death. And then there's one of my favorite newer Christmas tunes is Tyler the Creator's from music inspired by Illumination and the Grinch. I think it's even longer, the EP title. He made like a the Grinch inspired EP like 2-3 years ago, which I listen to every year, and yeah, that's just amazing. So you gotta check that out.
Do. Yeah, on my end, I just have a Wax Taylor remix of a Nina Simone song. Nice. I Am Blessed, and that's actually from a compilation called Verve Remixed, and they did a Christmas edition, and I'm a big fan of the Verve Remixed series. There's like 5 or 6 series or whatever where they just invite different artists to remix classic like jazz tunes.
Cool.
Yeah, I think Verve is the label that puts it all together, and yeah, I really like that series. And another one is Wolfpack. They got a new. Ooh. I think they're putting out
Speaking
new tracks.
Speaking of good plugins.
Yeah, so they I think they got a couple new tracks out and got me listening to Wolfpack again. And yeah, Christmas, they have a track called Christmas in LA back in their album. I think it was like 2013, 2014. They had an album called Fugue State, which the title track is still one of my favorite songs to this date. But yeah, it's called Christmas in LA, and I personally prefer the instrumental version over the lyrical version.
Okay.
Don't kill me on that. But yeah, that's
nice.
me.
Spreading some holiday joy this time, and
yeah, I guess this is a good place to tie the knot on this episode.
Yeah, dude,
this is episode 6. Thanks for listening,
for tuning in. Talk to you guys soon.
Talk to you guys.